This training here today is specifically made for the one person who is you're going through it your life. Maybe you have the external success, you got relationships, you've got the abundance, the financial success, the health, whatever it may be. But internally, in your inner world, it is a mess. You're suffering, you're not happy, you're struggling, and you're noticing how constant negative cycles keep reproducing themselves. Constant loops of negative thoughts and feelings, negative experiences. Things are just not going your way, and you feel like you're really having a hard time. This is going to be for you. Today, the goal is to get you back empowered. I'm going to share with you through self awareness and science on how you can rewire your mind to end this suffering once and for all. All right, so the number one reason why you suffer and how to change it once and for all. So, the very first thing is understanding the story that you play. And mind you, most of us don't even realize that we're playing this story because all this stuff, most of it happens, 95% of it, in the unconscious mind, the subconscious mind. But these stories are producing the constant emotions, thoughts, and experiences that we're having on a daily basis. So let's dive into this. So, first and foremost, understanding this is that emotion, thought, and experience, how we perceive our experiences, right? Because everything is just happening. We're the ones that give the experiences meaning, definition, right? But where does that meaning come from? Where do those thoughts come from that form that? Where does the emotions come from experiencing something? Where this comes from is what we notice is that it comes from our core belief systems. Your brain will quite literally filter in its core beliefs to make sure that core story keeps coming true over and over and over again. Which also means it will filter out any information that doesn't matter, that does not prove this story to be true. Science even shows that you could show someone all the evidence in the world to change, but if you come at them the wrong way and they're defensive around it, their brain will literally not even filter it in because they don't want to change those belief systems. That's why it's so hard to get people to change their minds. Like politics, for example. Everything is being filtered through these core belief systems. And this is why we produce or we have certain emotions around certain experiences. We have certain thoughts that come up around certain experiences. And mind you, it's all true for you, but is it universally true? That's the question that we need to ask. Is this truth your personal truth? And that's why you're experiencing it the way you do, which is fine. But what if that truth of yours isn't serving you? What if it's disempowering you and not empowering you? Why would we want to keep playing that story over and over again? Right? Because that story, that inner core belief system that we have, either about the world, ourselves, whatever it may be, is producing how we think, how we feel, and how we experience the external world. Remember, life is only 10% of what happens to you, but 90% of how you react to it moving forwards. And the ones who win are the ones who have that positive inner story. For example, the world is happening for me, not against me. So here's an example. Let's say if you come from a place of I'm not enough, right? And you go out in your life. So I work with a lot of high level clients, doctors, lawyers, CEOs, and they often come from a place of I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough. I'm not loved, whatever it may be, these core deep beliefs. And they go out into their world and they go accomplish these amazing awards, these amazing successes, they get all these compliments, right? But at the end of the day, it always comes back to I'm still not enough. I need to go accomplish the next thing. I didn't even register that compliment, right? That compliment doesn't mean anything. Why? Because it's not in alignment with the core story, the core beliefs they have about themselves. So as long as they have this core belief of I'm not enough, it doesn't matter what kind of awards they get, what kind of success they get, what kind of compliments they get. It literally does not matter. It's not going to change this inner story. These things are going to be temporary. But what's going to happen at the end of the day is they're always going to go back to this core state. So the science behind this shows that neuroscience is we have our RAS. And basically your RAS is it's a filter. So it filters the information that matches your beliefs. It filters the information that matches with your belief systems because 95% of this, right, your core beliefs are stored in your subconscious mind, which is where we are living 95% of our lives. So these core beliefs are producing all those little thoughts that you have on a daily basis that kind of shape your experiences in your world, which kind of influences how you feel, which then influences how you act, which then influences the results that you do get on a daily basis, right? So the reason why this is so powerful is because many of us grow up in childhood and we often get these belief systems that are passed down through culture, environment, family, experiences, whatever it may be. And as a poor little child, you don't have enough knowledge to really see things the right way. So the smallest experience of maybe your mom was on the phone or something like that when you needed something, and then you had a core belief built of I'm not worthy or I'm not deserving of love or I don't matter, right? And then we go in our futures and these keep reproducing themselves over and over and over again. These stories keep playing over and over and over again to the point where we don't even know they're playing because we're so caught up in the story, we believe it's true. And then the other problem behind that, which we'll talk about soon, is that then you start arguing for that story to be true. Because it's like, this is my truth. This is what's happened to me. This is what's going on. And it's like, hey, I acknowledge that. But do you want that to keep playing? Do you want to keep suffering? Or do you want to step back into your power and change the story so you can change your life? That's the key, right? It's okay if that happened to you. But are you done with that story? Are you ready to change the story? Or do you want to keep feeding that story? And we'll break that down here in the next slide on quantum physics and energy and focus. But the science shows is that your core belief systems that you have about yourself, right? They're producing the thoughts, which thoughts over time create emotions. And all these experiences that you have in your life, the meaning that you give to your experiences. So let's say, for example, you're not a confident person. Right. And you go ask someone for their number and they say, no, I don't want your number. Right. You give meaning to that experience of I'm ugly. It's just because I'm not confident. They see that in me. But let's say you're confident, the same exact experience happens. You ask someone for their number, they say no. You walk away and you're like, oh, they probably have a partner or something like that. We're probably just not a match. It's fine. I don't care. Let's move on to the next one. Right? So that confident belief, if you believe that you're confident, where it may be, or you're good enough, and that's producing that confidence that you have, that's going to shape the way you have experiences, which is going to shape over time your results in the long term rather than someone who believes maybe they're not good enough and they have low confidence, right? Maybe after they get denied, they're going to keep feeding that story of I'm not confident, right? So then they're going to cover up even more. They're not going to go ask for a number the next time around. And it's going to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And the story keeps getting fed over and over and over and over and over again. And that's just the smallest example. So that's the neuroscience behind it, is that your RAS will literally filter the information that matches your belief system. So you and your friend could have completely different beliefs and the same experience could be happening, but you could perceive it in a totally different lens than them. And yours could be good or bad depending on the core beliefs that you have. And this is why I always say is that the number one most important thing that we can do is do so much inner work where we have that positive outlook overall. We believe the world is for us. We empower ourselves at the highest level because when you look through life through that lens point, you're going to live an empowered life. You're going to live a powerful life. You're going to live a positive life. And in turn, you're going to feel so much better. But if we have a belief system of I'm a victim, the world is against me, I'm not good enough, I suck, I'm not handsome, I'm not beautiful, I'm ugly. And if we keep feeding that story over and over and over again, we're just going to keep looking for evidence in our external world to influence that inner story. And this is why a lot of people are like, well, Caden, I'm working out, I'm doing the work, I'm trying to do the affirmations, but nothing is changing. Like there's something wrong with me. I'm broken. And it's like, no, the reason why is because we haven't got to the core story. You're only changing the pages in the whole entire story. You got to change the entire book, right? Put that book down. Because right now you're just changing the page. Okay, the next page is I go work out to try and feel better. And then I go out and I work out and I look in the mirror and instantly I see something I don't like about myself. I hate on myself. So I go home, I eat the comfort food, and then I replay that story over and over again of I'm ugly. I'm ugly because when I saw in the mirror, I saw the flaws that I don't like about myself. Look at me, I'm self-sabotaging now. I'm just a mess. That's the story that's playing out. That's the next page. Let's change the entire book. Let's change the entire book. So what quantum physics shows is that every single thing is energy, and every single thing vibrates, and every single thing has a frequency. So your thoughts and emotions included. They're all energy. They're vibrating your thoughts and emotions. So here's the key saying is that where your focus goes is where your energy flows. And the observer effect shows in quantum physics that where you put your focus, you will literally collapse that into form. Everything at the smallest level is all potential. But with specific focus and energy, you can collapse the potential into quote unquote a reality, a actual situation. Okay, collapse something into actual form. So if we're focusing on the idea of I'm broken, right? I'm broken as in I can't change, something's wrong with me. Every time that we go and try to change our lives, every time we go to the doctors, we try to take these pills, these supplements, we get the therapy, whatever it may be, we do the work, right? But we go home and these thoughts keep reproducing of you just suck, you're not good enough, it's not going to work, nothing has ever worked before, and that's going to make you feel so sad and depressed, and then you're just going to give up on it, and that's going to keep replaying that reality that you're living in of I'm broken, I'm broken, I'm broken, right? And we keep attracting it over and over and over again. Why? Because most of our focus is going into the idea that I'm broken. So if you keep focusing on that, what do you think you're going to keep getting? You're going to keep getting more and more and more of it, right? I could focus on an entire forest of beauty, and then there could be some dog poop in the corner. And I could look in the corner and say, that is disgusting. That is so gross. It smells so bad because I'm so focused on it. It's like, get a grip, man. Look at the big picture. It's freaking beautiful. This is amazing. And you could probably see an example there of what I just said there. Maybe there's people in your life, right? You notice they're always focused on the little negative things, or the little things always bother them so much. It's because that's where the focus is going. So, your personal inner story. Your personal inner story, as now we know, your core beliefs are causing you to create the definitions around your experiences. This happened to me because I'm not good enough. This happened to me because I suck, right? Let's say you have a belief system of you're not good enough, and you go out and you try to accomplish an award and you lose. You lose massively, right? You're going to define that experience as I lost because I suck. But if you have the mindset, a belief system of I'm a winner, I'm going to win, I am good enough, and you lose, you're going to come back home and just say, oh, awesome. Well, I just need to practice a little bit more because I'm going to beat him next year because I know I'm good enough for this. How you perceive your experience doesn't matter. The experience is the experience. But how you move forwards from that all depends on that core inner story. And again, if you want to change your life, you need to change your actions over time. But the only way to consistently change those actions is to change that inner story. If not, like the definition of insanity shows, right? Definition of insanity is you keep doing the same things over and over again, expecting a change. So if you don't change that inner story, it's going to just keep reproducing itself over and over and over again because that's just how the brain works. So it defines experiences. It creates emotional loops over and over and over again. And the more neurons that fire together wire together, right? So the more negative thoughts that you have about yourself and negative feelings that you have about yourself, the more and more and more that's getting ingrained and defining and creating your identity. And the ego loves this because the ego, it wants safety and security. It wants to hold on to something, right? It wants an idea of something. The worst thing you could do over an ego, like they say in psychedelics and stuff, is an ego death. It's when everything is kind of stripped away from you. So that's the worst thing you could do to your ego is strip those things away. So when you strip these inner beliefs about yourself, the ego hates it. And that's why you notice that a lot of people who are suffering and struggling, they'll almost argue against you to keep suffering. And my question for you, if that's you right now, is I want you to ask yourself this question. Why do I believe in you more than you believe in you? Why am I trying to get you out of this story? Why are you not trying to get yourself out of this story? That's a true question to ask ourselves. Why do we buy in to these terrible stories so much about ourselves and the world and all this crap? Again, I want to share with you that it's not necessarily your fault because look at the news. Look at all this crap going on, right? Everything that's out there is pushing fear, which is majorly disempowering. But when you cut those ties and you focus on your power, you will live a brand new life. I can promise you that for sure. Promise you that for sure. But you'll notice a lot of people who are suffering and struggling and have these different things they don't prefer, they almost argue against you to keep feeding that story. And it's not necessarily their fault. It's because the ego gets so caught up into it, right? The ego doesn't want to be wrong. The brain doesn't want to be wrong. It wants safety and security. It wants consistency. So when you bring something to the table that's different, the brain's like, nope, nope, no, 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 no. We got to backtrack. We got to keep this safe and secure. We got to keep these stories keep playing. Even though logically it's like, this doesn't help me though. Why do I do this? Doesn't matter. The brain's like, no, 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 no. Let's stay the same. Right? So you notice that. You'll notice that. And then we just constantly are suffering because suffering comes from resistance from your actual, natural, true, powerful self. What I mean by that is, let's say you grow up with a belief system of I'm not good enough, right? Is that natural? Is that expansive? No, that does not connect with your powerful soul. That goes against you. That's disempowering. So that causes resistance from what actually is the natural self. This is why we say when you're looking for the actual truth, look for the universal truth, the truth that's true in all cases, not just your personal truth of you suck or you're not good enough. No. What is the universal truth? Does the universe entirely agree that you suck and you're not good enough? No. Right? You just are. You just are. And that is beautiful. That is amazing. Right? That is worthy enough. Just knowing that you are here, you have energy, you have a consciousness, you are a part of this whole thing shows you're worthy, shows you matter. Right? So, suffering is resistance from what your natural self, your natural powerful self is. So here's an example, okay? First of all, let's go through the shift. So the shift behind this, how do you actually transform yourself now? Step number one, it starts with awareness and understanding that you're the observer, right? And you're not the story, and you don't want to react because when you react, it shows that you're still playing that story over and over and over again, right? If you believe you're not good enough and someone says, hey, you suck, and you internalize that and say, yeah, I do suck, and that really feels like crap, it shows that you didn't change the internal story. Because if you truly believe that you're good enough, someone says that, it doesn't matter what they say. You already know who you are. So that shows that you actually changed, right? So have the awareness to catch your patterns. Reflect on, why do I say these things about myself? Why do I feel this way about this? Why does that have such an emotional impact? Review, 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 review. Self-reflection is one of the major, major things that's needed for most of us. I spend at least an hour every single day reflecting upon my thoughts, my feelings, how I am, my beliefs, the entire thing to see what I can rewire that's disempowering. So the next thing is step number one. So you aware, right? You observe, you don't react, you do not put judgment onto the situation because that ties you into the story. You just observe what's really going on, right? Step number two is you rewire the disempowered beliefs or stories. And how you know if it's disempowering or not is ask yourself, does this help me expand or constrict? Is this universally true in all cases that I'm not good enough? No, it's not universally true. So you know it's a disempowering belief. You know it's a limiting belief. Limiting belief. Something that limits you. Get it out. Why keep that in there when you can have an empowering belief? Step number three is integrate. So you have to integrate these new changes because remember, those old stories been playing for a long time, so they're quite integrated in there. So you want to integrate meditation, breath work, affirmations, and acting upon it. Acting upon it embodies a new identity. Affirmations help keep your focus on it. Breathing helps with your nervous system, plus meditation together helps your nervous system make it a parasympathetic state, a safety state of being. When you have those thoughts and feelings about yourself and those beliefs, makes it safe because the nervous system is attuned to the old story. And then number four is keep rising, keep going, keep expanding, keep letting go of these limiting beliefs, and you will keep stepping more and more into your power. And one day you're going to wake up and you're going to say, holy crap, this feels like heaven on earth. Heaven on earth. I no longer really suffer. I experience pain, but I don't suffer. I accept all. I let go. I move forwards. I stay in flow. I don't hold on to what's not mine. Why? Because I'm the creator of my life. I decide how I perceive events. I decide what I give meaning to. I decide how I feel and think about these things, and it all comes down to my core beliefs. So set your beliefs up in a way that's going to set you up for success in life. That's going to allow you to accept things, to let go of worrying, to let go of struggle, to let go of overthinking, to let go of not feeling abundant, to living scarce. to try and just to survive and not thrive. Rewire it all. Rewire it all and watch yourself rise and ascend. So here's the last example I'll share with you today, right? So let's say right now over here, your current identity is scared, not good enough, and unloved feeling. And your natural self over here that you want to get to, right? Because everything that we do is for a feeling at the end of the day. The natural self is safe. They're abundant. They trust. They're unconditional love. That is the top highest ascendant. That's the highest frequency that you can vibrate at, right? As a human. So here's what happens on our journeys is we start as a baby, we go out in life, and then we start building up these resistances. These resistances are these limiting beliefs and fears that we have that feed the story of I'm not good enough, right? So let's say, this resistance is I'm not good enough. That feeds the ego. That feeds this identity over and over again. You're going to keep filtering that out into your world, which then puts a line in between where you want to go and where you're at, right? You get stuck in this loop feeding the same story because you have these beliefs, right? And they're producing the thoughts, they're producing the emotions, they're producing the actions, they're producing the results, which then reinforce that belief. But if you can cut that resistance out, you can remove that resistance, you're going to get more and more over to the other side of where you want to go, your natural, empowered, amazing self. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the training for today. How to stop suffering, how to transform your inner story so you can rise and empower yourself moving forwards. If you did like this training, please like and subscribe. Comment down below what you think really hit home the most. And I just want to say I appreciate you guys all so much for the support. I really love making these trainings for you. So keep up the support. It's awesome. And let's keep rising. Let's keep winning. Let's cut this whole idea of being disempowered, being victims, and thinking that we need something external to change. Let's empower ourselves. Let's rise. Let's get better, because here's the thing. The world is going to change when you change yourself. That's it. The world is going to change when you change yourself. So let's do the world a favor and let's transform ourselves.